First, we have some breaking news to get to. The legendary singer Ozzy Osbourne has died. That is according to our partners at the BBC. His death comes just weeks after he reunited with his former band Black Sabbath for a farewell concert.
He sat on stage one last time. 17 days later, he was gone. The words still echo in the silence left behind by one of rock's greatest voices, Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, the godfather of heavy metal, a man whose voice didn't just define a genre, it created one. A life that didn't just defy the odds. It laughed in their face, spat at them, and kept on screaming. His final performance left the world in awe, and 17 days later, left us all in mourning. On July 5th, 2025, Ozzy took the stage in his beloved Birmingham, England, the industrial heartland that forged both the man and his music, for what he somehow knew might be his final bow. 17 days later, on July 22nd, 2025, the world lost not just a legend, but a piece of its rebellious soul. Today, we're diving deep into the real story behind Ozzy Osbourne's final performance and the immeasurable legacy he leaves behind. This is a story of raw courage, unbreakable love, and the eternal, undying spirit of rock and roll. 1. The Last Show. On July 5th, 2025, Birmingham transformed into heavy metal's holy ground. The event, aptly named Back to the Beginning, saw Ozzy return to the industrial heartland where Black Sabbath was born in 1968. Villa Park Football Stadium became a cathedral of sound, hosting 45,000 pilgrims while 5.8 million more watched online, witnessing a moment that would be seared into rock history forever. For the first time in over 2 decades, the original Black Sabbath lineup reunited in all its glory. Ozzy Osbourne's voice still carried the weight of 1,000 prayers and curses. Tony Iommi's fingers conjured the darkest, most beautiful riffs ever conceived. Geezer Butler's bass provided the philosophical poetry that gave voice to a generation's angst. Bill Ward's drums drove the heartbeat through chaos. 4 working-class kids from Aston, who had grown up in factory smoke and post-war poverty, transforming their pain into something eternal. This wasn't the wild-eyed maniac of the 70s who bit heads off bats or shocked audiences with outrageous antics. At 76, time and illness had taken their toll. Parkinson's disease, surgeries, and the relentless march of years forced him to perform seated on an incredible bat-themed throne. Yet when he opened his mouth to sing War Pigs, something transcendent occurred. That voice, weathered by whiskey, cigarettes, and 10,000 screaming crowds, remained raw, powerful, and eternal. Ozzy's voice cracked with emotion as he looked out at that sea of faces and said, "You've got no idea how I feel. Thank you from the bottom of my heart." This was Ozzy stripped of pretense, revealing the beating heart beneath the Prince of Darkness persona. This was a man saying goodbye. The concert became a love letter to heavy metal itself. Bands that owed their existence to Black Sabbath's creation took the stage one by one. Metallica paid homage to their godfathers, with James Hetfield calling Ozzy the godfather of everything we do, the reason metal exists. Guns N' Roses brought their dangerous rock and roll, Axl Rose declaring, "Ozzy's why I'm here. Without him, there is no me." Behind this miracle stood 2 incredible forces: Sharon Osbourne, Ozzy's wife, manager, and soulmate, who had masterminded the event alongside Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine. Sharon fought with doctors, physiotherapists, and insurance companies for months to make this happen. The charitable aspect raised £140 million for Cure Parkinsons, Birmingham Children's Hospital, and Acorns Children's Hospice. 2. Health decline. Ozzy's final years were defined by battles fought not on stages, but in hospital rooms. The diagnosis came in 2003, though the world wouldn't know for 17 years. Parkinson's disease. This progressive neurological disorder slowly, relentlessly robs victims of mobility, speech, and basic motor functions. For a performer whose identity was built on movement and wild stage antics, it was particularly cruel. By 2025, the disease had progressed severely. Ozzy could no longer walk without assistance. In a May 2025 Guardian interview, his words carried mortality's weight. You wake up the next morning and find that something else has gone wrong. You begin to think this is never going to end. Parkinson's was just one enemy in a multi-front war. A 2003 quad bike accident at his Buckinghamshire estate left severe spinal injuries. What should have been a fun afternoon ride became another medical horror chapter. Then came 2019's fall at home, leading to 3 separate spinal surgeries, the last in September 2023. Doctors discovered a vertebrae tumor in 2023. Cancer. Another word striking fear into anyone's heart. With characteristic dark humor, Ozzy told Rolling Stone, "I've got more fucking metal in me than a scrap merchant." He was on blood thinners for leg clots, his morning routine involving a challenging cocktail of medication. Every day was a fight, just to move, exist, be Ozzy. Despite everything, Ozzy refused surrender. He underwent grueling physiotherapy to prepare for that final show. Physical therapy at 76, with Parkinson's after multiple surgeries, fighting through soul-breaking pain. Sharon told Billboard he needed a reason to get up in the morning. That reason was back to the beginning. He battled legendary substance abuse, addiction so severe it became part of his mystique. Behind excess stories was a man self-medicating, coping with mental illness, numbing physical and emotional pain. In a brutally honest 2023 Rolling Stone interview, he admitted, "I don't know why I'm still here. I'm on borrowed time." But he wasn't fighting alone. Sharon Osbourne, wife, manager, savior, stood by him through everything. Their relationship, documented in the Osbournes and Tell-All books, was tempestuous, passionate, ultimately unbreakable. She'd pulled him from the brink countless times, fought with doctors, negotiated with venues, moved heaven and earth to make his final dream possible. Their love story reads like rock and roll fairy tale, the working-class rebel and manager's daughter who saw something nobody else did. They weathered his addictions, her cancer, his infidelities, her temporary separation, his accidents, and final illness. Through it all, she remained his rock, anchor in the storm.
Thanks for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. We do have some breaking news that just came into our newsroom that we have to bring to you. It's official there. British rock star Ozzy Osbourne has died at the age of 76. I want to put up this post that we have from the New York Post that they made on their X account.
3. The death on July 5th, 2025. Ozzy performed in his cherished hometown of Birmingham, England, the gritty industrial cradle that shaped him and his music in what he sensed. But what happened just hours before he died will shock you. On July 22nd, 2025, at 7:42 a.m. British time, the world changed forever. The phone calls started in Los Angeles, rippled across to New York, and within hours, the entire planet was mourning. Ozzy Osbourne, the immortal, the indestructible, the Prince of Darkness himself, had passed away at his home in Buckinghamshire, England, at the age of 76. The family's statement was simple, elegant, and devastating. It is with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. He was with his family and surrounded by love. No official cause of death was given, but anyone who had witnessed his long battle with Parkinson's disease and spinal issues understood that his body had simply fought as long as it could. The details that emerged painted a picture both heartbreaking and somehow beautiful. An air ambulance had been called to Ozzy's mansion that morning, its rotors cutting through the peaceful English countryside like a desperate prayer. Emergency crews worked for 2 hours to save him, pouring everything they had into keeping the legend alive. But some battles can't be won with medical equipment and determination. He slipped away peacefully, surrounded by the people who mattered most. Sharon, his wife of 43 years, his partner in every sense of the word, held his hand as he took his final breath. His children, Amy, Kelly, Jack, Louis, and Jessica, were there, along with his beloved grandchildren. In the end, the man who had performed for millions died in the most intimate setting possible, surrounded by love. Sharon, described by sources as utterly devastated, retreated from public view immediately. Those close to the family told the Mirror, "She's lost her best friend. They were soulmates." For a woman who had managed every aspect of Ozzy's career, who had been his voice when he couldn't speak for himself, the silence spoke volumes about her grief. The fan response was immediate and overwhelming, a digital tsunami of love and loss. Social media platforms crashed under the weight of tributes. Black Sabbath's official Instagram account posted a simple photo of Ozzy in his prime, arms raised in triumph, with the caption, "Ozzy Forever." 2 words that somehow captured everything. Within hours, Birmingham's Black Sabbath Bridge, a piece of infrastructure that had been renamed in honor of the band, became an impromptu shrine. Fans left flowers, candles, handwritten notes, and yes, half-drunk beers. Because this was Ozzy, and even in mourning, his fans kept their sense of humor and rock and roll spirit. Stephen Knowles, who owns the world's largest collection of Black Sabbath memorabilia, spoke for millions when he told the Mirror, "I'm heartbroken. He's been part of my life since I was 10 years old. That farewell gig was the perfect ending, but it happened too soon. Too soon." The words that every fan was thinking, even though logically they knew that 76 years was a full life, especially for someone who had lived as hard as Ozzy. The reaction went far beyond fans. Politicians, celebrities, musicians, and cultural figures who had never met Ozzy found themselves moved to comment on his passing. Because Ozzy wasn't just a musician, he was a cultural touchstone, a rebel flag that people rallied around, a symbol of freedom and authenticity in an increasingly artificial world. Petitions immediately sprang up online, campaigns for a state funeral, for a statue in Birmingham, for renaming Birmingham Airport after him. One petition read, "He held a special place in the hearts of many people worldwide." Naming an airport after Ozzy would be a fitting tribute to a man who helped put Birmingham on the map. The idea of travelers from around the world landing at Ozzy Osbourne International Airport seemed both ridiculous and somehow perfect. His sisters, speaking to local media, offered a glimpse of the man behind the myth. Ozzy was loving and funny. He was the baby of the family, and we all protected him, even when he became famous. He never forgot where he came from. This reminder that behind the wild rock star persona was simply a man who loved his family, who remembered his roots, who stayed connected to the working-class values that shaped him. The outpouring of grief showed just how much Ozzy meant to the world, not just as an entertainer, but as a symbol of survival, of authenticity, of the power of music to transform lives. His death wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of something eternal, Chapter 4. Forever, Legacy and Tributes. To understand Ozzy Osbourne's legacy, you have to understand that he didn't just participate in rock history, he created it. As the frontman of Black Sabbath, he didn't just help invent heavy metal. He gave birth to it in a Birmingham rehearsal room in 1968, screaming into existence a genre that would influence every form of popular music that followed. Over the course of his solo career, he released 13 albums, 7 of which went multi-platinum. He won a Grammy for I Don't Want to Change the World, but more importantly, he changed the world for millions of fans who found strength in his music, who discovered that it was okay to be different, to be dark, to embrace your inner freak. The stories were endless and increasingly outrageous. Snorting a line of ants to outshock Motley Crue, urinating on the Alamo while wearing Sharon's dress, getting arrested for public intoxication. Each incident added to his legend, but they also revealed something deeper. A man who refused to be contained by society's expectations, who lived authentically even when that authenticity was messy and self-destructive. In the 2000s, Ozzy achieved something unprecedented. He became a household name beyond rock circles through MTV's The Osbournes. The reality show offered an unprecedented look into the domestic life of the Prince of Darkness, revealing a man who was simultaneously the wildest rock star in history and the most devoted family man imaginable. The Osbournes humanized Ozzy in a way that no amount of interviews or documentaries could have achieved. Fans saw him struggling with everyday technology, trying to understand his dogs, attempting to be a good father while battling his own demons. He wasn't just a rock god anymore. He was relatable, flawed, and utterly human. After his death, the tributes came from every corner of the music world and beyond. Metallica, the band that arguably inherited Sabbath's throne as metal's premier act, posted a simple image with a broken heart emoji and the words, "It's impossible to put into words what Ozzy meant to us and to metal itself." Ozzy's influence can be traced through every metal band that followed, every rebellious anthem, every kid who picked up a guitar after hearing Paranoid. Bands as diverse as Tool, Slipknot, Avenged Sevenfold, and Ghost all carry traces of his DNA. His vocal style, that distinctive wail that could convey both menace and vulnerability, became the template for metal singing. But his influence went beyond metal. Alternative rock, grunge, punk, and even pop music owe debts to what Ozzy created. He proved that darkness could be commercially successful, that authenticity could triumph over artifice, that being weird was better than being boring. Ozzy Osbourne was the Prince of Darkness, but his light will never fade. From the gritty streets of Birmingham to stages around the world, he lived a life that was wild, chaotic, and beautiful. He battled addiction, illness, and pain, but he never stopped singing. His music, his spirit, and his love for his fans will live on forever. Thank you, Ozzy, for the madness, the music, and the memories. Rest in peace, you legend. If you were touched by Ozzy's story, hit that like button, share this video, and tell us your favorite Ozzy moment in the comments. Let's keep his legacy alive. Until next time.